Have you noticed how easy it is to get lost in the chaos? Anxiety, pressure, deadlines, endless opinions. It feels like we never have enough time, and yet we're always exhausted. But what if I told you that the problem isn't the lack of time, nor the overload of tasks, but the way you organize your mind? Here is where Stoic philosophy enters, with a counterintuitive perspective. The less you try to control what doesn't depend on you, the freer and more organized you become. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, faced enormous pressures, yet still found clarity to live with serenity. They discovered simple, practical principles to stay calm under pressure, control emotions, handle insults, and train resilience. And the best part? These lessons still work today against the same struggles you face, whether it's anxiety about not keeping up, fear of failure, or the anger that bursts out and disorganizes everything. In this video, you're going to discover how to apply Stoicism to organize your life from the inside out. I'll show you how to separate what truly depends on you, use discipline as freedom, practice strategic silence, manage your time wisely, master your emotions, live without excess, reflect daily, and find a purpose that gives meaning to it all. So subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who also needs this clarity. Because what you're about to learn can change the way you see life. The first lesson of Stoic philosophy is simple yet powerful: clarity about what is within your control and what is not. Marcus Aurelius wrote daily to remind himself of this truth. Think about the anxiety we feel when trying to change someone's opinion, control the weather, or reverse the past. All of this is wasted energy. Stoicism teaches that when you focus only on what you can truly change, your choices, your discipline, and your reactions, life begins to fall into order. This clarity is like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, you can see the path ahead. This ancient wisdom shows us that anxiety is born from trying to control the uncontrollable. It's like rowing against the current. The harder you push, the more exhausted you feel. But when you accept that certain things are beyond your reach, like someone else's criticism or a traffic jam, you discover freedom in not overreacting. That is the real power of Stoicism, redirecting your attention to what you can influence. This reduces stress and strengthens your mental resilience. Practicing this clarity doesn't require anything complex. A simple exercise is to write down, at the end of each day, 2 situations you handled well and 2 that weren't in your control. This practice trains your perception and organizes your mind, separating what deserves your energy from what only deserves acceptance. Marcus Aurelius called this mastery of the mind, and this ability can shield you from emotions that drain your inner peace. Here's a practical example. Imagine standing in a long line while someone nearby loudly complains. You can react, argue, and lose your calm, or you can realize that their behavior isn't under your control. What you can control is how you handle it. Listen to music, read a passage from Seneca on your phone, or simply breathe deeply. The result? You maintain emotional control, practice self-discipline, and preserve your energy. This clarity also applies to the digital world. How often do we lose hours in pointless online debates, trying to win against strangers? The Stoics would say, choose strategic silence and focus on strengthening your real life. Restraining yourself in this way is liberating, because it shows that it's not the world that organizes your life, it's your mind. And the more you practice, the more you realize that staying calm under pressure is a skill worth gold. When we understand this invisible boundary between what we control and what we don't, we start walking the path of self-improvement. This awareness organizes our energy, reduces mental overload, and makes us more resilient to uncertainty. It is the first step to mastering oneself and preparing the ground for discipline, which is the foundation of everything that follows. In Stoic philosophy, discipline is not a prison, but the key to freedom. Seneca once said that those who are slaves to their desires can never be free. Think about it. The person who cannot wake up early, control anger, or maintain healthy habits is a prisoner of momentary impulses. But the one who practices self-discipline gains mastery of the mind and organizes life around conscious choices. This is not rigidity. It is mental strength that sustains inner peace. Imagine your life as a garden, Without discipline, weeds take over. Procrastination, distractions, emotional outbursts. But with daily discipline, waking up at the same time, studying a little each day, exercising, writing reflections like Marcus Aurelius did, the garden begins to flourish. Small, consistent actions create deep roots that make life organized. External chaos has less power over you because within there is order. The Stoic training suggests it's not about great occasional achievements, but consistency. For example, instead of promising a radical transformation in 1 week, commit to a small daily habit, reading 2 pages of philosophy, practicing a few minutes of silence, or writing down your thoughts. This resilience training shapes your mind, prepares you to handle insults and face pressure without losing control. It's also important to remember that discipline means knowing how to say no. Many times we accept invitations or tasks just to please others, only to become overwhelmed. Stoicism teaches us to filter what truly matters. Saying no is not weakness, it's stress management and energy protection. By doing so, you maintain calm under pressure and align your life with what is essential. Here's a practical example. Create a Stoic morning routine. Start the day by waking up early, stretching, reading a short passage from Epictetus, and writing down 3 things you want to control that day, such as not reacting with anger, staying focused at work, and practicing strategic silence. This simple practice becomes a ritual of mental strength that structures your daily life. And the more you practice discipline, the more you realize it's not a burden but a form of lightness. It removes unnecessary choices and puts your life in order. But beyond discipline, the Stoics valued another great power: strategic silence, which organizes not only actions but also thoughts. For the Stoics, silence was never just the absence of words, but a conscious decision to preserve energy and mental clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that often it is wiser to ignore provocations than to respond to them. After all, when we react to everything, we become prisoners of the ego. But when we choose strategic silence, we control anger, stay calm under pressure, and strengthen mastery of the mind. This is one of the secrets to organizing life inside and out. Think about how many conflicts could be avoided simply by choosing not to answer. An unfair criticism, a provocation in traffic, a harsh comment online. The impulse is to react, but ancient wisdom shows that ignoring negativity is an act of mental strength. Strategic silence in practice is stress management. You save energy to invest in what truly matters. This choice creates inner peace and proves that you are the master of your emotions. Seneca said that anger is temporary, but the damage it causes can be permanent. That's why silence becomes emotional discipline. It's not about swallowing everything, but about choosing the right time to speak and the right time to remain silent. A simple exercise: when faced with an insult or criticism, wait a few seconds before reacting. That pause is gold. In that moment, you decide whether it's worth spending energy or not. This strengthens emotional control and avoids regrets. A modern example: think of social media. How often do we see endless arguments that lead nowhere? Strategic silence here means choosing where to invest your attention. Instead of replying to a provocative comment, you could read Marcus Aurelius, practice mindful breathing, or even go for a walk. This shift of focus is a practical way of self-improvement and a way to protect your emotional intelligence. Silence is also a tool for productivity. By reducing unnecessary stimuli, notifications, constant noise, purposeless conversations, you allow your mind to settle. Create moments in your day where you disconnect from everything and simply observe your own thoughts. That mental space is where clarity is born. It's like clearing a messy desk. With fewer objects, you can finally see what matters. And when you adopt strategic silence as part of your life, you realize it's not just about staying quiet. It's about listening better, listening to yourself, listening to reason, and even listening to life around you. And at this point, you discover something essential for organizing your life: the wise management of time, which transforms silence into conscious action. Seneca left us a striking reminder. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. This warning is still relevant today because time is our most precious resource and the one we squander most carelessly. Stoic philosophy teaches that an organized life depends directly on how we use each moment. To manage time is to manage life itself. Those who fail to value it are always chasing, while those who learn to use it wisely find balance and inner peace. The first step is simple. Identify what truly matters. How many hours are wasted scrolling on a phone, feeding the ego in endless arguments, or giving in to distractions? Stoicism invites us to replace this waste with activities that nourish the mind and strengthen discipline. Reading Epictetus, practicing strategic silence, exercising the body, or reflecting on our actions are ways to turn time into investment. Marcus Aurelius himself preferred writing his meditations over chasing empty entertainments. Wise time management also requires the courage to say no. How often do we accept commitments just to avoid displeasing others? This habit steals away precious hours. The Stoic learns to decline what adds no value, without guilt. By protecting time, you protect mental strength and avoid wandering into paths that are not your own. A practical exercise is to review your weekly schedule and eliminate at least one task that does not serve your purpose. This small action creates clarity and prevents chaos. Another key point is to turn routine into an ally. When you organize time to wake up, study, reflect, and rest, you build a structure that sustains emotional control. This isn't about rigidly chaining yourself. It's about finding balance between discipline and flexibility. For example, you can block time for specific tasks and protect those blocks from distractions. This method boosts productivity and reduces the feeling of being constantly late. Seneca also said that living in haste is wasting life. That's why time management is not just about doing more, but about doing what truly matters. It's about seeing each day as a unique opportunity for personal development. Imagine ending your day knowing you used your hours to strengthen your mind, your discipline, and your purpose. That sense of fulfillment brings serenity that no external rush can offer. And as you learn to manage time wisely, you begin to realize that it's not enough to organize your schedule. You must also organize your emotions. Because without emotional self-mastery, even the best planned time gets lost in impulses and uncontrolled reactions. Stoic philosophy teaches that it's not the absence of emotions that brings order to life, but mastery over them. Anger, fear, and uncontrolled impulses are like storms that throw the ship of the mind into chaos. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that it is not what happens that disturbs us, but how we interpret what happens. Emotional self-mastery, then, is the art of staying calm under pressure, practicing emotional intelligence, and turning emotions into allies rather than enemies. A practical exercise for training this mastery is the conscious pause. When someone provokes you, before reacting, take a deep breath and count to 10. It may seem simple, but this interval is an act of self-discipline and perception. It prevents you from becoming a prisoner of anger and creates space for a wise response. This doesn't mean repressing emotions, but learning to use them as tools. By practicing this emotional control daily, you discover a mental strength that protects your inner peace. Seneca said, "The greatest victory is to conquer oneself." And that victory appears in small moments, when you can hear criticism without exploding, when you resist the urge to reply to insults, when you don't let excitement make you lose focus. Each silent victory is a brick in the fortress of self-mastery. These victories are invisible to others, but they build an organized and resilient inner life. In daily life, emotional self-mastery applies everywhere. At work, for example, when a meeting heats up, the Stoic does not rush. He observes, analyzes, and responds with clarity. In relationships, when conflict arises, the choice is not to shout louder, but to practice strategic silence or to speak with calm. These small acts of mental strength reveal emotional intelligence and create healthier environments around you. It is important to remember that emotional self-mastery does not mean coldness, but balance. The Stoics were not seeking to erase feelings, but to control them. It's like holding the reins of a strong horse. If you lose control, it drags you away. But if you stay firm, it takes you where you want to go. This image perfectly captures what it means to live with inner order, being the master of your impulses, instead of their slave. And once you learn to master your emotions, you realize life doesn't need excess to be fulfilling. The next step in Stoicism makes this clear. To simplify is to free yourself. This is where Stoic minimalism comes in, a powerful key to living with more clarity and less weight. Stoicism teaches us that life becomes more organized when we free ourselves from excess. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, lived simply, without being trapped by luxury or display. This is the essence of Stoic minimalism, reducing the unnecessary to strengthen what is essential. It's not about living with little, but about living with enough. When you cut out distractions, superficial desires, and useless worries, you create space for inner peace to flourish. In practice, simplifying means choosing quality over quantity. How many clothes sit unused in your closet? How many objects take up space but serve no real purpose? The same is true for thoughts and emotions. Often, we carry old grudges or other people's opinions that only weigh us down. The Stoic understands that every excess is an obstacle to emotional control. By reducing the weight, you strengthen mental resilience and stay calm under pressure. A practical exercise is to apply the less is more principle in small areas of life. For example, when organizing your desk, keep only what is essential. Your computer, a notebook, and a good book like Seneca or Epictetus. This act of external decluttering reflects inwardly, bringing clarity and focus. Minimalism in this sense is not a trend, but a philosophy of life that manifests as mastery of the mind. And detachment goes beyond material possessions. It extends to relationships, social media, and even opinions. How often do we overwhelm ourselves trying to please everyone or reacting to insults that add nothing? Stoic minimalism teaches us to ignore negativity, practice strategic silence, and dedicate attention only to what strengthens personal growth. This selection is true resilience training. It also applies to time. Instead of filling the schedule with commitments, the Stoic prioritizes the essential: studying, working with purpose, reflecting, caring for health, and cultivating genuine relationships. By cutting down on unnecessary tasks, you gain room to breathe, think, and act with clarity. This stress management makes life lighter and strengthens daily discipline. And when you discover that you need less than you thought, you realize true wealth is not in accumulation, but in liberation. This simplicity becomes the foundation for another pillar of Stoic philosophy: constant reflection, which illuminates the path of self-improvement and keeps life organized from within. The Stoics knew that without reflection, life quickly falls into disorder. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his diary every day to evaluate his thoughts, while Seneca advised reviewing mistakes before going to sleep. This habit of constant reflection is a practical tool for personal development. It allows you to identify patterns of behavior, recognize flaws, and strengthen virtues. It's like holding a mirror up to your soul. You see what needs adjustment so you don't repeat the same mistakes. In practice, daily reflection organizes the mind like someone arranging a library. Every experience finds its place. It strengthens mastery of the mind and brings clarity about how to control anger, handle insults, or remain calm in tense situations. A simple exercise is to write down at the end of the day 3 actions you're proud of and 3 you'd like to improve. This ritual is resilience training and helps cultivate inner peace. Reflection also works as an antidote to the ego. Many times we believe we are right in everything, but when we revisit our actions, we notice the excesses. This process prevents arrogance from taking over and strengthens emotional intelligence. Seneca said that no one is so wise that they don't need to review themselves. By applying this practice, you learn to continuously improve yourself. A modern example: instead of ending the day only with distractions, reserve a few minutes to think about your choices. Ask yourself, did I live according to Stoic principles today? Did I remain calm under pressure? Did I use my time well? These simple questions act as a compass to keep your life organized. The key is consistency, not perfection. This habit also deepens discipline. After all, when you record your mistakes, you create a silent commitment not to repeat them. At the same time, you reinforce virtues already cultivated, like strategic silence or self-discipline. This balance builds confidence and mental strength, because you know you are evolving a little each day. And that sense of progress nurtures lasting personal growth. And as you practice reflection, you realize it's not only about correcting errors, but about aligning your life with something greater. Because in the end, all organization needs a clear direction. And that's where the next pillar of Stoicism comes in, living with purpose, the compass that guides every choice. For the Stoics, an organized life cannot exist without purpose. Marcus Aurelius said that to live in harmony with nature and reason is to live in harmony with destiny itself. This means every action must point toward a North Star, and that star is virtue. When you have clarity of purpose, your priorities align, chaos diminishes, and even stress management becomes lighter. After all, those who know where they're going don't get lost on random paths. Purpose is like a lighthouse guiding you through the storm. Imagine being at sea without a destination. Every wave feels like a threat. But when there's a fixed point on the horizon, you row with confidence even amid turbulence. That's what Stoicism teaches. Purpose gives meaning to self-discipline, strategic silence, and mastery of the mind. Without it, emotional control drifts in momentary impulses. With it, mental strength grows with every step. In practice, discovering purpose requires reflection and simplicity. Ask yourself, what truly matters in my life? What values do I want to defend? For some, it may be raising children with wisdom. For others, serving others or cultivating inner peace. Epictetus reminded us that we don't choose all the roles we play in life, but we can live with excellence in the role we've been given. This awareness reduces anxiety and helps you stay calm under pressure. A practical exercise is to write your own Stoic purpose statement. It doesn't need to be long, just one clear sentence that sums up what guides your choices. For example, my purpose is to live with virtue, practice self-discipline, and remain calm in adversity. Read this sentence daily. It works as an antidote against distractions and as resilience training. Whenever the ego tries to take control, this reminder brings you back to the right path. Purpose also organizes relationships. When you know what you want, you don't accept invitations or opinions that lead you off track. This is how you ignore negativity and choose only what fuels your growth. Such selection not only saves time, but preserves mental energy. Each decision then becomes a brick in building a life aligned with what truly matters. And when you realize that purpose is more than fleeting motivation, it's a life structure, you see that all the previous lessons converge here. Clarity, discipline, silence, time management, self-mastery, and minimalism all unite at this point. And with that, we complete the Stoic cycle of organizing life, ready to bring this wisdom to others in an inspiring way. Now that you've walked through these Stoic lessons, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you keep letting anger, fear, and chaos dictate your path? Or will you choose discipline, silence, and purpose as your guide? The choice is yours, but remember, only those who put philosophy into practice achieve true freedom. Think of how many moments you could have stayed calm under pressure but didn't. How many times you overreacted, wasted time on what wasn't in your control, and later regretted it. The Stoics showed us that we don't need to be victims of chance, but masters of our choices. So why not start today? Comment below. Which of these lessons will you apply first? Constant reflection and purpose only make sense if they turn into action. So don't let these ideas stay in theory. Start small. Organize your time. Practice strategic silence. Choose a Stoic phrase to repeat throughout the day. Each step is a brick building the life you want, and I challenge you, if not now, when? If not you, who? The moment to take mastery of your mind is today, because life won't wait. Those who ignore this call remain prisoners of the ego and circumstances. Those who accept it find inner peace and clarity to live with emotional strength. If this video made sense to you, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and hit the like button. That way you'll keep learning about Stoicism and ancient wisdom while strengthening this community of people who truly seek personal growth. And don't forget, share this video with someone who needs to hear this right now.